Hello and welcome back to the workshop. So this is a little different one. This is an intro and potentially a goodbye for my 2006 E60 M5. This is going to be going on Cars and Bids here in a couple of days, and I thought I would do a quick video about it before it goes. Um, just about 3 years ago, I bought this car. I started looking maybe 6 months prior to that. The market was pretty soft on these, and I thought this would be a good time to buy what's probably never something we're going to see again, a V10 super sedan. If you think back to the early mid 2000s, that was the V10 era in Formula One, paddle shifters, automated manual gearboxes, and BMW was campaigning an F1 team. So, what better way to tie that to their motorsport auto section than to put a V10 in the M5 and later M6. The story is the engine blocks were cast at the same foundry as the F1 engine, so that's really the only tie. The road car was a 5-liter V10, 500 horsepower in US trim, 380 something pound-feet of torque. I think 507 was the number in German horsepower. That gave 0 to 60 in about 4.5 seconds, although magazines ran anywhere from 4.1 to 4.6 or 7, and electronically limited to 155 miles an hour. If you had the M drivers package, apparently, that raised your speed limit to 190. And in the day, Dynan had said if you de-restrict them altogether, it's a legit 205 mile an hour family sedan. If you remember back to the E28, the US advertising was a nice practical 155 or 150 mile an hour family sedan. I think I have that ad somewhere over here. This upped the ante to over 200. So I've had this car for about 3 years. I've put about 14,000 miles on it. It is really, an engine focused car like the M cars used to really be. It's all about the V10. It's all about the 8,000 plus RPM redline. You could, this is a 2006, so first year. In 2007, for the North American market, you could get a manual transmission only in the US. It was something that Americans, oddly enough, demanded when you would think the rest of the world would be interested in a manual. But realistically, the 7-speed SMG was faster accelerating. The gear ratios, I think, matched the engine a little better. I drove both back in period. I was a big E39 M5 guy back in the day when these cars came out. And of course, I went to look and see, do I want to kind of upgrade to the next and biggest and best? And I came away at that point not really too impressed. And my E39 was a full Dynan S2 car. It had over 400 horsepower at the wheels. And back in the early YouTube days, there was a video floating around of a drag race, professional drivers closed course between my S2 M5 and Dynan's test mule before they did any mods to it. At that point, the S2 equipped E39 would stay in front of the E60 to about 110 or so miles an hour. And then the top end of this engine, even stock, would start to walk away from the E39 from 110 on. So always a super fast car. So the Bangle body has aged well, I think. And I started looking, late 2021. I really wanted Sepang bronze. And it was just a very unique color, not the typical, loud M color. And whenever I'd play Gran Turismo and drive an M5 on the Nürburgring, it was always Sepang. So that's what I was looking for. Found one at a sketchy used car lot up in Sacramento. Not the thing you should ever do. I made a deal. I took it for a test drive. It felt pretty good. Went back a few days later with a check and went out to take the car, and it wouldn't start. So I dodged a big bullet, went back in. After a while of the guys from the used car lot trying to jumpstart it and get it to start, I said, hey, obviously I'm not taking this car. And they said, sure. Gave me my check back, tore up the contract. And then literally like 2 days later, this car pops up on Craigslist. Privately owned, local East Bay car. And I went and looked at it, and it was actually a little bit less money too. Less money and less mileage. And, I liked it, and made a deal and took it home the next day. After buying the car and doing a little searching on its history with the help of some friends who had some dealer connections, I found out the car had a factory replacement engine in late 2010. So November of 2010, the car had about 44 or so thousand miles on it, I think, 42 to 44. And the repair order said, car towed in, customer states number 2 connecting rod has exited engine block. And on the warranty claim, they wrote it up as crankcase failure. So the car got a new engine, and actually the rod damaged the steering rack. So it also got a new steering rack at that point. So I'm at 106 or so thousand miles now. So the engine's got about 62 to 64, something like that. And it's a late 2010 engine, so it had all of the upgrades. Comparing this to some other friends who have these, the Vanos is much quieter on this car. I have a friend with a manual that we've kind of swapped back to back, and this car feels a lot stronger, but part of that I think is the SMG. The gear ratios work a little better versus the 6-speed that was kind of an afterthought. So Sepang bronze, black interior, light, what was it, olive ash wood trim. Really a nice contrast. It's an 06, so it's the first year for the US. Some people like the facelift interiors better. It doesn't really matter too much to me. I like the wood trim and the color combo in this. It's got the executive seating package, I think it was called, which gives you the perforated leather heated and cooled seats with the articulating backrest and active bolsters. So if you have them on and you throw the car into the corner, the bolsters kind of come out and help hold you in. That kind of bugs me, so I usually leave that off. But it's been a fun car. I've put about 14,000 miles on it. It's really been surprisingly trouble-free. Oil changes. I recently did spark plugs, air filters, typical maintenance stuff. I had to put a fuel pump in it kind of early on because it actually has a plastic kind of quick release fitting to the fuel line, and that was leaking. So we tried replacing that section of fuel line, still leaked. And then the next step was the fuel pump and filter assembly. So that's all been replaced. But, good car. I have done a couple of Blackstone oil analysis on it just to be on the safe side, and they've come back super clean. And it's, it's ready to go. So compared to the earlier cars like the E34 and E28 that were hand-built at the motorsport facility in Garching, E39 and later E60, F10 were built on the regular production line. So there were quite a bit more cars made than the early cars. Almost 20,000 sedans, another 12 or so hundred Tourings in the E60, E61 chassis, and almost half of those came to the US. When I looked, I think it was like 8,500 to 9,000 came to the US. When I was looking for this car, I had done some searching because I knew I wanted Sepang bronze. I really didn't know how rare they were. And at the time, I found a website that listed production number by color. That website seems to have disappeared, so I kind of wonder if maybe those numbers were not accurate. But there were 200, according to that, there were about 200 and something, 230, 240 Sepang bronze M5s from 06 to 2010 that came to the US. And I think it was like 15 or 16 of those were manual transmission cars. So they were rare cars. Odd that I came across 2 right on top of each other, but since then I haven't really seen any others. I haven't seen one on the road. I haven't seen one on any of the auction sites. So it's an uncommon color that I think really suits the E60, and I think it's a really pretty color. I got a camera mount, so we're gonna do a driving video for the Cars and Bids ad. I'll add a little bit to this, so we'll see how that works. It'll be my first time trying this suction cup camera mount that I'm gonna stick on a window. This is a walk-around video for the Cars and Bids auction. My 2006 BMW M5 in Sepang bronze. 106,000 miles. Had a factory engine replacement in November of 2010 with about 42 or 44,000 miles on it, so about 60 something on the engine. Pretty much totally stock. Cars and Bids pointed out tinted windows. I kind of forgot about that. I bought it that way. I'm usually not a fan of window tint, and I usually take it out, but the interior of this car was in such nice shape, probably partly because of the tint. I left it in. So no significant rock chips on the front. Everything's pretty clean there. The wheels have a couple of scrapes. There's one on that wheel. There's a door ding here, right there. There's another one up on the C-pillar. There was a kind of a lifted truck that I was parked next to at my office that you can't really see it very well. But there's like a little ding right in this area. Well, I stopped driving cars that I care about to work, so this wheel also, a little bit of rash on it. Same thing a little bit right here on that wheel. And similar that wheel. It's got, I believe it was called the executive seat package, perforated leather, heated and cooled, articulating backrest, and active bolsters, so you could tighten them up, and you could, if you have them set to active, they'll kind of pivot inward when you go into a corner, which I don't really like, so I usually keep that off. But that's the switch right here, and then heating, cooling, tire pressure monitor, park distance control. I really liked the light wood with the black interior. I think it was called olive ash. No issues with the leather. Door panels are in nice shape. Car's locked. It's got the black Alcantara headliner and package tray.